It's the flat season.
Been waiting for this moment for a long time.
I think 4-1's a really nice price about this horse.
And I think this son of showcasing could take all the beating.
Everyone who has been slating myself and Jack for saying mogul.
I have no doubt in my mind he is the best horse in the race.
Hello and welcome to the Next Gen Racing YouTube channel. For those who haven't seen us before, we've finished the jump season. Cheltenham is out the way. We don't need to talk any more about the jumps because, whoa, it's the flat season. Jack, we are absolutely buzzing. We're looking forward to this, aren't we?
I honestly can't wait. I've been waiting for this moment for a long time. We get those obstacles out of the way. We love the national hunt, don't get me wrong, but we're back on the flat. Here we go.
Yeah, the turf is back in action, and we are going to be previewing the meeting from Doncaster and also the huge meeting, loads of Group 1s, plenty of them out in Meydan for the Dubai World Cup night, which was obviously cancelled last year due to COVID, but looking forward to that as well. But we're going to kick off with the Doncaster card and start with the Doncaster Mile, Class 1 listed race, and the betting currently looks roughly like this. Bounce the Blues is 3-1, Top Rank 4-1, Montatham 4-1, Space Traveller is also around 4-1, and Father of Jazz 6-1, Kesar 10s and 12-1, and bigger the rest. Now, Jack, we've had a long discussion about this card throughout the week, and I think we're both big fans of Montatham here, and it was very, very sad to hear the day that we're filming this of Sheikh Hamdan Al Maktoum unfortunately passing away, a man who has had so many great horses over the years. We can go back and sort of look over some of the great ones, some of the recent ones as well, the likes of Batash, Nazif, some really smashing horses that he's recently had, but you can go back so far and name so many. But I think he's going to be he'll have a winner, and it'll be really nice to see this horse go in, Montatham. I mean, he won his first start last season, a Class 3 handicap at Newmarket, so he goes well, very fresh, and then ran very well, I thought, in the Royal Hunt Cup at Royal Ascot behind Dark Vision, which he actually reversed at Sandown the next day. Now, he did have a disappointing run towards the back end of the season. That was in the Cambridgeshire. Now, I did look into that, and the top 13 in that race raced on the near side. He was actually racing on the far side, and we didn't see him quite to his best. I do think he's better off over a mile. And, Jack, I think 4-1's a really nice price about this horse.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it'd be a very poignant winner, as you said, for Sheikh Hamdan Al Maktoum. I mean, he was a great influence for the sport. He's brought so many loved horses into the game, and it's such a shame that he's passed. But yeah, I completely agree. I mean, Bounce the Blues will understandably be very popular. I think her form was very aesthetically pleasing. It was in behind Cloak of Spirits, and she was giving Cloak of Spirits £3 that day, and of course Cloak of Spirits was third in the Group 1 Sun Chariot. That was a really good run. And on the same day, it was the Joel Stakes, which Kamiko won, and also Top Rank, who's here, was in. Now, her time, I find this, it was more intriguing than anything, but it was the exact same time as Zabeel Prince, and of course Zabeel Prince won this, and that was to the 100th of a second. Zabeel Prince won this exact race in 2018. I thought that was quite interesting. The only thing is, 4-year-olds don't have a great record in this, so it's a bit of a question mark. But yeah, I think, as you said, Montatham's 2 out of 2 when fresh. The Royal Hunt Cup, the run in the Royal Hunt Cup was a great run, and as you said, I've got it written down here. He was out of stall 2, and the stalls 1 to 7 finished 13th, 19th, 18th, 15th, 26th, 24th, and pulled up. He was travelling really strongly, but if he fires like he usually does, he found the 9 furlongs just a bit too far in the Cambridgeshire. He's back to the mile here, and I think this son of showcasing could take all the beating at a nice enough price at 4-1.
Yeah, and I think James Doyle is in for a decent time of things at Doncaster. He could have plenty of winners, and definitely a jockey who I think is just so stylish in the saddle. I'm looking forward to seeing some of Doyle's rides throughout the season. But yeah, it's going to be a real good one, the first race. But the first tip of the flat season, Jack and I both agree, Montatham in the Doncaster Mile. Right, we move on to the Carrage Trophy Stakes now. A 6 furlong sprint. Looking forward to this one. The Har 5-2. Brando around 3-1. Just Frank is 9-2. Summergand 11-2. Emiratiana around 13-2. Tis Marvellous is around 8-1. Mr. Lupton 10s and much bigger the rest. Jack, this is a great little sprint to start the season. Who are we fancying here?
It's a tricky one, isn't it? I mean, I wouldn't really be telling everyone to go diving into it because A, it's the beginning of the flat season, and B, it's everyone's first runs. I mean, I couldn't really put anyone off backing Nahar now. I think he definitely needed the run at Chelmsford when he was 4 for 4 last month. That was over 7 furlongs as well, which isn't his optimum trip. So back to 6, he'll be looking better there. Just Frank's an intriguing candidate. It was 8-1 about him not too long ago, and you said there he's shortening by the second, but he'll no doubt have a very good season. But there's three question marks for me here. We have no clue what he's like fresh, and on his debut was probably his worst performance of the lot, so that would bring a little bit of a doubt to my mind. The ground of his last two wins were bottomless, and although he has won on good ground at Thirsk, I'm not sure if he'll be seen to best effect on heavier ground. And finally, well, of course, I'm going to bring in the stats. 14 of the last 16 winners were aged 4 to 6. And of course, he's a 3-year-old. He's only carrying 8 stone 9, which is nothing compared to the rest. But I think there's two which are intriguing for me. The first is obviously a gym crack winner in Emiratiana. Now, he'll probably run his race again and be there or thereabouts because he's a very consistent sort. But the one that I've landed on here is Charlie Hills' Royal Commando. Now, he's currently 16 to 1. And if he shows up on reappearance like he did last year when he was 4th in the Commonwealth Cup, I think he has a serious chance. He went off at 250 to 1 in the Commonwealth Cup. Now, as a 2-year-old, he was tried in the Richmond Stakes, the Mill Reef, and the Dewhurst. He didn't have a great year as a 2-year-old when showing promise in his first 2 runs. But after a lengthy break, he came out in the Commonwealth Cup and ran an absolute stormer into 4th. He hasn't repeated that form since, but if he runs a screamer like that, Kieran Schumacher's back on again like the Commonwealth Cup. He hasn't been on since the Commonwealth Cup, so Kieran Schumacher's back on again. He's 16 to 1, and if he runs anywhere near to that form, I think he could be in with a shout.
Yeah, I think, especially for the first runs of the season, it's very difficult. If you are playing sort of at Doncaster, I do think it's you should be playing with smaller stakes because you never know what these horses can do. Some of them could have sort of improved. Some of them, just might flop on their first starts of the season. But I landed on one here, and that was Summergan. It's the Stewards Cup winner from last year from Goodwood, who ran on really firm ground. Now, I saw videos this week of the ground at Doncaster, and geez, it could be pretty quick.
Roger Till wasn't happy, was he?
Yeah, wow. It was quick, or it looked anyway. But yeah, he won the Stewards Cup. Nahar, who's the favourite here, actually finished 9th in that race. Now, Summergan was giving away £7 that day. So I can't see the difference in price there between sort of 5 to 2 and 11 to 2. I think 11 to 2 is far too big about Summergan. And David O'Mara, the trainer of this horse, he actually gave me one of my best days and probably one of my best bets I've ever had. And that was Bravery actually in the Lincoln, which we're going to talk about in a minute, a few years back. And that was, I think that it went off at around 20 to 1. I had it about 33s, but it was literally one of the greatest rides I think I've ever seen. It came out from a really wide storm, crossed all the way to the near side and ended up winning. It was a fantastic ride. But yeah, I'm going to give the Stewards Cup winner a massive chance here in Summergan. I think 11-2 is far too big about this horse. Okay, the highlight of the Doncaster meeting is obviously the Lincoln Handicap, a heritage handicap over 1 mile. Now, short prices in here, which is a surprise for a Lincoln, but Eastern World is around 7 to 2. Hakiki also matching the price there at 7 to 2. You've got Brentford Hope 6 to 1, King Oscar 8. Who else have you got? Royal Nymph at 9s, Dania at 10s, but 14 to 1 and bigger the rest. Now, we had it a few years ago. Dayab won this group horse in a handicap, and definitely a group horse in the handicap. The fact winning plenty of Group 1 since, and now out in Australia where he's going to be running in the Randwick Stakes at the weekend. But Jack, there could be plenty of potential here for these two horses to go on to much bigger things at the top of the market.
Yeah, I'm usually looking forward to a Lincoln a lot more than I am this year. I think Hakiki and Eastern World are both kind of spoiling the party almost. They're kind of just ruining the fact that a big field handicap is to try and find a big price winner, and you've got two at the top of the market who probably are going to be group horses. Even King Otticar, I'll let you come on to King Otticar, but Charlie Fellows has even said he's most likely a group horse, and to win this you've got to have a group horse, which I think's completely fair enough. But away from that, it's not something that I'll be getting too stuck into at all. But the one that I've landed on here is Brunch from Michael Dodds and Callum Rodriguez, now returning to better ground. Now, he had a really good year as a 3-year-old, winning from a break before, a couple of nice handicaps at York, including beating Eastern World by 3.5 lengths, and then was second to Johan. And I don't know how he hasn't won this race. He's had to come 4 wide. He was on the bridle for so long whilst Johan was really hard at it, and he had to completely make up so much more ground, and then just couldn't get there in time. And he was giving Johan £3, I think, on the day. He's got a £7 swing with Johan here today, and I think they're both 16 to 1 at the moment. And you can discount his last 2 runs, which weren't on very nice ground. He's carrying 9 stone 5. I know that's a pound above almost where you want to be when you look at the stats, but if you can discount his last 2 prices, 16 to 1 each way is kind of where I'll be having a little fancy.
Yeah, I mean, the two at the top of the market, Eastern World, he won a handicap over in Meydan in February. That was over a mile and 1 furlongs, over 9 furlongs. He beat Al Maysan that day, who was well fancied for that race. Another one of Applebee's. And I mean, the fact it's gone over 9 furlongs, I mean, if it is a fastly run Lincoln, you definitely know that this horse is going to be right there at the finish, and then will probably suit. Hakiki's a lightly raced 4-year-old, won a 7 furlong Class 2 handicap last season here at Doncaster, has probably got one of the best £7 claiming jockeys I've seen for a while in Benoit de la Sayette, who we are hoping to have on this channel very soon. But Benoit just reminds me, in terms of the fact he's been at Gosden's, his style reminds me so much of Dettori, the way he's in the saddle, especially when he gets down low and goes to these horses. So out of those two, I'd probably be fancying Hakiki, but King Otaka is probably the one that I'd be siding with. Now, I'd probably have to say, with regards to first runs of the season, this horse didn't have the best start, where it finished 5th of 5 in the Brigadier Gerard Stakes. Now, that was behind Lord North, Elicam and Telecaster. Now, I mean, he didn't finish too far behind, and we know that these are all 3 decent horses. I do think that this horse has a lot of ability, plenty of improvement in it, and Charlie Fellows has said that this horse is definitely going to go on to much bigger things. And I think the fact it's got Ben Curtis on at the moment, Ben Curtis absolutely flying, 24% strike rate in the last 14 days, and I do think that Ben Curtis is going to be challenging for that title this season. I think there's plenty of chance. I wouldn't want to be taking the prize about Oshin at around 6-4 for the title. I wish Oshin all the best. He's been on this channel before. We'll hopefully have him on here plenty of times. But I think Ben Curtis is definitely one to be following this season. I think he's going to be going very, very close. But I think King Otaka for me each way in the Lincoln Handicap. Right, out we go. Out we go to Meydan for the World Cup night. What a fantastic night this looks, by the way. We'll start off with the Dubai Gold Cup over 2 miles. Secret Advisor, 5-2 favourite here for the Appleby and Buick team. Subjectivist, 7-2 for Mark Johnson. Spanish Mission, 11-2, ridden by Ryan Moore. Global Heat, Red Verdon, Royal Marine, Volcanic Sky, all 10s, and 20-1 and bigger the rest. Jack, we've been talking before. This looks like it's one of your favourite races of the weekend.
Yeah, it's an absolute head scratcher. I can't wait for it. I mean, looking for it, it's clear to see why Secret Advisor's favourite after being 3rd behind Spanish Mission and, of course, ahead of Red Verdon. Now, I think he receives £4 and £5 from them, respectively. And considering he's 2 out of 2 Meydan, you know he's going to go well. At 9-4, I'm probably not going to be getting too involved, it's fair to say. Out the front of the market, I probably prefer Subjectivist to the other market leaders, especially considering he's getting £6 from his win in the Pre-Royal Oak. Now, he was behind both Valier and Princess Zoe that day. Of course, Princess Zoe had Group 1 honours before that, and coming fresh shouldn't be a problem because he was 3rd in Ascot Handicap last year, I think it was, when fresh. And although the ground could be a problem because he's coming from his last 2 wins were on testing ground, his form on good ground is not too bad. But I'm actually going to go for something at a bit of a larger price. I'm looking forward to watching it, but I'm going to stick with Volcanic Sky at 14-1. Now, Frankie was on board Volcanic Sky last time out when he won, finishing just ahead of Global Heat, who was flying home. And he's actually jumped ship now to go full Global Heat, and Christophe Soumillon is on board Volcanic Sky. But for me, Global Heat hasn't really had too many excuses. He's been drawn better. Volcanic Sky had to give him, I think it was £3 or £4 on his penultimate run and still couldn't do it. I think Global Heat's going to be one of those. I'm going to compare him to Fakira. He's going to be staying on, getting ahead of beaten horses. And I think Volcanic Sky at 14-1, he's been drawn in the car park before, still runs his race. And if he gets a little bit of a kick early doors, I think 14-1 is not a bad price.
Yeah, and Soumillon's one of my favourite jockeys to have in a staying race. I think one of the horses that I think we all remember is Vizirabad, one of my favourite stayers, who won this race, 3 or 4 years back. Now, the one thing I have, Spanish Mission, obviously, yeah, like you say, given £4 by Secret Advisor, who I think will go and win this. The thing I have against Subjectivist, Jack, now, this is my Jack Dorling head I've had to screw on here, is that I've looked at every single run with good in the going, whether that's good to firm, good, or good to soft. He's 0 from 8. His run in the Pre-Royal Oak, right? He won that on soft ground, beating Prince Zoe, Hold That Is Green, Valier, some decent horses, right? And made all that day. He's not going to have the opportunity to do that here. I do think Secret Advisor is by far the best horse in here. And I don't like tipping favourites. I think 5-2 is fairly nice for a favourite. If you do like backing them rather than sort of an odds-on shot. But I do think that Secret Advisor, especially with Appleby and Buick, we know how much they love it out there at these meetings, and they clean up during the Meydan season. So I do think he's going to be very, very tough to beat. I'm with Jack, though. If you want an each way bet, I think Volcanic Sky is a really cracking bet. I think Soumillon's going to give this an absolute peach of a ride. But again, Meydan, Godolphin might be dominating the Dubai Gold Cup. Right, we move on to the Quoz Sprints now. I think that's how you pronounce it, the Quoz Sprint. 6 furlongs. Space Blues here 6-4. Another Appleby and Buick horse. Equilateral 11-2. Final Song 6-1. And I mean, we've got Cardem in there, Mutafwafwit, and Speaking Colours around 14-1, and 16-1, and Bigger the Rest. Jack, Space Blues just wins.
Yeah. Yeah, he's obviously the one to beat, but my doubt with Space Blues is the same doubt I have with Equilateral. I don't think 6 furlongs is their optimum trip. I think Space Blues is going to be very good over 7. He's shown he's very good over 7. I know he's been very good over 6.5, but Equilateral is a 5 furlong horse to me. And then in that respect, I think the door could slightly be open ajar for someone like Cardem to come through. I think he's 13-2, best price at the moment. He only had 2 runs last year, but he ran well in both the Diamond Jubilee and the July Cup. And to me, this is a touch easier bar Space Blues. So if Space Blues fails to fire, which I'm sure he probably won't, but if he does, I think he could either be the one to follow him home or potentially throw the gauntlets down to him.
Yeah, I think Space Blues was very class out in Riyadh. And I do think that, yeah, you're right, 7 furlong horse, but I mean, he does have the speed for 6 furlongs. I'd like to see this horse actually go for the Lennox. I'd love to be able to see him at Goodwood this year. I don't know whether they'll ever have that on the mind, but Lennox over 7, I don't know, Jack. Would you say that could potentially be on mind?
Yeah, I mean, probably. I mean,
it's a Group 2, isn't it?
Yeah, they're willing to run him in Group 2s.
Yeah, he might do. I'd like to see him because I think the only Group 1 in Europe over 7 furlongs is in France.
Yeah,
from what I know, and that's on Arc weekend. So if they do want to go for a 7 furlong group race, I mean, the Lennox has got to be one on the list, but we'll have to see about that.
Just a quick one. Do you think, I mean, obviously they're dropping him to 6 here. Do you think they'd always drop him to 6 rather than putting him up to a mile?
Yes. I think he's quicker than. Yeah. I'm not sure over a mile whether I don't know. He is very classy.
Especially sounding like
I do think the 6 and 7 furlongs probably is his best trip. They might take a risk with him. They might, go and step him up, but I'd be very shocked. I do think that 6 and 7 would be his trip, and I would love to see him go for that Lennox, especially on quick going at Goodwood. But we'll have to see. Appleby will make the decisions there. But yeah, getting the chance to see that horse at Goodwood would be good. Acclam Express at 33-1 is one that I know to a prize, finished behind Equilateral. The thing that he does love is really, really quick going. Acclam Express. He loves an absolute road to run on, which he's probably going to get down that straight. So at 33-1, he might be the one at prices, but Space Blues for me is probably one of the easy favourites to back this weekend.
And Charlie Appleby, if you're watching, please send Space Blues to Goodwood. We want to see him. We want to see him.
Right, on to the Dubai Turf now, over 9 furlongs. Lord Glitters, your favourite here. Well, he's joint favourite, actually, with most markets, with Lord North and Al Sahel, all 7-2. Regal Reality, 9-1. Via de Garde is 10-1. And then we've got the likes of, I think it's Ecteran, who's 12-1, and Courthouse 25 and much bigger than the rest. Now, this race here was won by one of my favourite horses of all time, and that was Solo. A French horse, a beautiful grey, who actually went and won the Sussex Stakes as well. I was a big fan of this horse, and I'm going to be shying away, as much as a lot of people on Twitter have been saying it's between the top 3. I am going to give a chance to the Japanese horse here. And I hate tipping up a Japanese horse. The reason I hate it is because it'll probably go and win this, and then they'll say, here we go, we have the Arc winner once again. But they haven't got the Arc winner here. But it's ridden by Barcelona. That's Via de Garde. Now, the last 6 runnings of this race, Japan have won 4, with Just the Way, Real Steel, Vivlos, and Almond Eye. Now, this horse has been well fancied this week, and I've actually been watching videos of this horse out in Meydan on the gallops, out on the dirt, and he looks beautiful. He really does. And you can go back and look at his Tokyo form and be like, Sam, what on earth? It looks horrendous. But this horse here he's improving so much. He's got so much improvement. The trainer's been raving on about how good this horse potentially could be. And I just think the Japanese, with the record they have in this race, I do think that he'll run a big one and shock a few. Now, I can see why people like the top 3 in the market. I think that Lord Glitters is just admirable as a grey. He really is. He's 8 years old now, and he's still competing and even winning Group 1s, which is mad to say. And he's got a major chance here. Al Sahel finished behind Lord Glitters last time, and Lord North, sometimes you just never know what to expect with this horse. Jack, it's a tough one to unveil. Are you with the top 3 in the market?
Sorry, Sam. Before that,
Here we go.
you're not. I'm sorry, you're not getting away from this. Such as a keen form analyst of yourself, you said Vingegaard is improving. The Japanese have a great record, but you haven't actually gone through the form of his last few races. What?
Right, yeah, no. Am I really going to go into his fourth at Tokyo last time out? No, I'm not, right? You can actually have a look at some of the horses that have won this in the past. Like I say, the last 6 runnings, 4 of them being Japanese. Their form, some of them, hasn't been the best going into the race. Some have had decent forms, like Almond Eye, but others have come into the race. I think Vivlos won at like 33 to 1 year under João Moreira. I'd actually like to have seen João Moreira aboard Vingegaard, even though Miguel Barcelona is one of the kings of Meydan. I do like watching him ride as well, but I just think that I don't know. There's something in there that says that he's going to shock a few, Jack. There really is. He's in there for a reason. He really, if you actually watch the videos, he's really stunning. Like as a horse, he's beautiful. His movement, the way he moves across the dirt was lovely. He's going to be on the turf, but I'd give him a huge shot on firm going. You're going to be with the top 3, and you can just leave Vingegaard alone now.
Yeah, I will. Don't worry. You can.
Went on too much. I went on way too much about Vingegaard there, so we'll just leave it there.
Yeah, you can relax now. But no, it's a really intriguing race, isn't it? Especially now Lord North's been thrown into it. I have no doubt in my mind he is the best horse in the race. After the Prince of Wales, the Juddmonte, obviously his run at the Breeders' Cup as well. I have no doubt in my mind he's the best horse here. He's not running over the trip he wants to. He's been running over a mile 2, obviously a mile 4 out in America. So that's the only question mark for me. But I still think he has the pace. You saw it in the Prince of Wales. He kicked so far clear of a Dabe, and a lot of people were saying the form that he showed after that wasn't too strong. But his run in the Juddmonte behind Magical and Gaiath, I think, was absolutely superb. I think, although Lord Glitter is absolutely flying in Meydan, and it would be great to see him do it, I think he's probably a touch out of his depth, I want to say. In this, I think this is a touch classier than the last time out. And Al Sahel, I mean, he looked like the winner last time out, just got nabbed on the line. But when are they going to geld him? I mean, he never settles. He's always so jittery. Like, they just need to geld him. Like, I know he's a colt at the moment, but as soon as they geld him, he'll win the big one, or a big one. But I don't think that's coming anytime soon. But for me, I'll be sticking with Lord North. I think he's the classiest in the race, and I think dropping back from the mile and a half shouldn't be too much of a problem.
There we go. So yeah, Jack sticking on the top 3 in the market, and me just trying to frank the Tokyo form. But that is our selections for the Dubai Turf. Right, on to the Sheema Classic now, over 1.5 miles. A good Group 1 this. Mishrif is in here, your Saudi Cup winner, who is around 3 to 1. You might be able to get 7 to 2 in places. Chromo Genesis is 7 to 2. Mogul is 4 to 1. Walton Street 8 to 1. And then you've got lots of Channel Maker in here at 10s and 14 to 1 and bigger the rest. Now, just as we've come on here, a lot of the top 3 in this market were around sort of 7 to 2, 4 to 1. You could probably get them with most bookmakers. But Chromo Genesis has gone to 2 to 1 with a lot of bookmakers. Now, I don't know. Now, this is another one that's going to be, everyone's going to have to try and go through the form. I don't fancy this horse, by the way. I really don't. But Chromo Genesis has come for a lot of money. Jack, if you want to go into the form in a minute, you can. But Mishrish returning to the turf here. He's going to be on firm ground, which he had decent enough ground. I think it was good to soft in the Prix de Jockey Club, which he won. A bit disappointing on Champions Day in the Champion Stakes, where it was just way too soft, which Adayab won. The one that I just think he doesn't have to be his best. We've been saying it all week, and everyone on Twitter, everyone who has been slating myself and Jack for saying Mogul, Aidan O'Brien's already said he needs the run. He only has to be about 75% of his best here to win this, I believe. He's actually in one of my top 5 horses to follow this season. I think he's going to be one of the stars of the season on the turf. I think he's just a horse who was, in some ways, just a bit immature last season in some of his runs. He's definitely maturing as he gets older. But he won the Hong Kong Vase, which was only back in December. So in terms of a prep run as such, this is a much better one than what he had last season, which he had a lot later towards the back end of last season. He won the Grand Prix de Paris, which he actually beat in Swoop, who actually then finished in behind Sotsas in the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe. God knows whether Mogul could have won the Arc. I know Aidan O'Brien didn't have horses out there, but we will never know. But I do think that Mogul had a major chance at the Arc. And Jack, you know I was slating this horse ever since sort of the Gordon Stakes at Goodwood last year. But now, do you know what? I quite like him.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I don't think I've ever had a more love-hate relationship with a horse as I have Mogul. When he ran at Ascot, I was thinking, why is everyone backing him for the Derby? I was like, yeah, he showed a lot as a 2-year-old, and then he ran at Ascot, and I was thinking, there's just nothing here. Obviously, he ran all right in the Derby, but like you, Sam, I'd be lying. Unlike you, I know you're a keen Japanese form analyst. I'd be
I'm
lying if
not.
I said that I knew Chronogenesis, and kind of the stubborn part of me is just gonna not back him because he's 2-1. I think Mishreef's going to be stretched by this trip. I think, yeah, for me it does revolve around Mogul. Like you said in the Gordon Stakes, he ran well in the Voltica as well. And not only was InSweep behind, Gold Trip was also in behind him as well in the Grand Prix de Paris. He finished fourth in the Arc. So like the form from that Grand Prix de Paris was very nice, and I wasn't really with him at that stage. I didn't really like him that much, but it was very, very eye catching, very impressive. He was way too far off the pace. Unfortunately, it wasn't a Pierre Charles Boudot special at the Breeders' Cup, but he absolutely bolted up in the Hong Kong Fast, didn't he? And of course, the question is he going to need the run? But last year, I think it was 250 days to break before he ran at Ascot. This year, we're looking at about 109, 110. So it's under half of what it was last year, and I think he's definitely the one to be. Like you said, if he turns up 80%, I still can't see him out of the frame. We don't really know what Chronogenesis has to offer, but I think he's going to have to do a serious amount to get the better of Mogul. Another one is Berkshire Rocco. I think he's an absolute insulting price at 33-1. This horse was so unlucky last year. He bumped into English King when he was good in the Derby trial.
When he was good.
Yeah. To Santiago in the Queen's Vase, Galileo Chrome in the Ledger. Like, honestly, what does he need to do to actually get a win here? He was second in Doha as well to blow the cobwebs off last month. But I'm definitely happy to take both of them for this Mogul and Berkshire Rocco at an each way price, because if there's one thing that's going to, if there's money taxes, death taxes, and Berkshire Rocco finishing second, so that'll be what was happening. But yeah, I think Mogul's the one to beat, and I'll have Berkshire Rocco each way as well.
Yeah, I just think that Mogul, I mean, the form I could tie in here, and a horse that I do think is slightly overpriced in the market, might be the American horse as well, Channel Maker, for William Bott. I mean, this horse here finished third in the Breeders' Cup Turf behind Tarnawa, who is going to be an absolute superstar this season. I can't wait to see her out, and also Magical, the Gallant Magical as well. And Mogul finished fifth in that race. I do think that Channel Maker might be should be a bit shorter, I believe. I'm not saying he's going to win it, but I do think 10-1. I do think that it should be a single price figure. What do you reckon, Jack?
Personally, I think may have been a tad flattered by the Breeders' Cup because he's got
maybe it's 66-1 that day.
Early, so
yeah, wasn't fancied for the race at all. I think it was 66-1 finishing third, but has had a nice run around Riyadh. Where finished behind Holly Dore on True Self. So I just think that potentially with that recent run, potentially a bit of an insider price at 10-1, but it's going to be a really, really decent race. But do we not fancy Mishreef at all? Like, what do we reckon to Mishreef? Because obviously Mishreef has won the Saudi Cup. It'd be great to have John Gosling going out and winning the Breeders' Cup later on in the season. I'd love to see it over on the dirt. But do we fancy this horse back on the turf? We know he's had really decent form. He's won some decent races on the turf. But do we fancy him to sort of come from the dirt, go on the turf and win here?
It's not so much the transition, I think, of the conditions. It's just the trip. I mean, he's going over 1.5 miles. I'm not sure what he's got to offer over 1.5 miles. I think he should have gone for the Dubai World Cup instead, if I'm being honest. He was favoured for the Dubai World Cup, wasn't he, after his win in the Saudi Cup? But I don't know. I think if he does win, then he'll surprise me and I'll hold my hands up and say I was wrong. But I'm more not doubting him so much, but there's too much of an unknown over this trip for me to say yes, 2-1, 5-2. I'm going all in, if you know what I mean.
So Mogul for myself and Jack in the Sheema Classic. Right, on to the Dubai World Cup, the big race on the night out there. A Mystic Guide for Godolphin is your favourite here, and it's not Appleby and Buick. It's Michael Stidham and Louis Sayers from America, and it's around 5-2 for this race. Jesus' team 6-1, Military Law 13-2, Salute the Soldier 8-1, and you've got Sleepy Eyes Todd 10-1. Magni Kerr is a very interesting one in here, and we've got much bigger the rest at around 14-1. Now Mishreef isn't going to win the Sheema Classic, but Mishreef might be winning the Dubai World Cup in Abdullah Mishreef, who trains Great Scott in here. I think that this horse has a really decent chance. It's around 16-1, but was a very good third in the Saudi Cup. And I think that day was about 66-1 for that race for the Saudi Cup, but ran a really cracking race. And looking at, it's very difficult to go back. We've said it before, but going back and looking at form from their, respective countries is very difficult. But the reports from Abdullah Mishrif is this horse is definitely on the improve, and he loves the dirt. I think that run in the Saudi Cup, finishing third, I think it was really, really, really nice. I was quite impressed by it, and it's dirt races aren't something that Jack and I get too stuck into, but at a big price, he might be one that I'll be having a couple of quid each way on. Jack, what about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, Mystic Guy's a bit of an interesting one. I'm not really too familiar with him. Of course, he bolted up last time out in America, but he doesn't really fit the criteria of a winner. That's kind of what I looked at here. Now, the normal winner of the Dubai World Cup, you got 9 of the last 10 previous winners have run over a mile 2. He hasn't. 8 of the last 10 were previous Group 1 winners. He isn't. And 7 of the last 10 were aged 5 or older, and he's not. So I'll definitely be opposing him at 2-1. Now, there are 2 intriguing runners for me here. The first of which is Manny Kaur for Andre Fabre. Now, his prep run in Chantilly was on the all-weather last time out, which wasn't too long ago, but he was shaken up by the PCB and responded really nicely. So he's going to be quite interesting, especially as his form last year. He beat Persian King in Chantilly over a mile, and of course we know what Persian King went on to do. There are some great things last year, so he's definitely going to be one that I'll be keeping an eye on at about 10-1. But I do think Salute the Soldier is a good enough price at 5-1. He knows the course like the back of his hand. He's run 4 times here in 7 appearances, and he always travels very strongly, and he may be able to kick away from them and get the better of them here. And one thing which would make this so good is if an ex-Clive Cox horse could win the Dubai World Cup. It's a shame he's not with Clive Cox now, but I'm going to be siding with Salute the Soldier very tentatively. It's not something that I'll be getting too involved with, as we said.
Right, that's it for our first preview of the flat season here on the Next Gen Racing channel. If you haven't already, do go down and like the videos, and also subscribe if you haven't already. We're so close to 300 subscribers, and we're hoping by the end of the flat season that we're about 500 plus. So please do like and subscribe if you are enjoying the content. Now, Jack and I are going to be fairly consistent with the content that we put out to you guys. Our previews for the weekends are going to come out every Thursday, and then on a Monday you're either going to get a review of the weekend if there's some big action. If not, you're going to get a great feature video from myself and Jack, whether that's sort of chatting to a special guest or whether that's an anti-post preview. We'll have something for you guys, but we've got plenty of stuff to look forward to this season. We've got the Guineas coming up. Jack and I are going to do a great preview of Royal Ascot. Hopefully have some really good guests on for that. We've got a very, very special video for the Glorious Goodwood preview, which is going to look spectacular once that's all done. And we'll soon be, once COVID is all over, Jack and I will be together in a studio and we'll have some really decent content for you guys. But thanks so much for watching, and we will see you on Monday.